You are not tired, you're undisciplined. You are not overwhelmed, you're unorganized. And the difference between where you are and where you want to be is hidden in what you do between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. Wake up 1 hour earlier and watch your whole life shift into alignment. Time is not money, time is life. And when you waste time, you are not wasting minutes. You are wasting moments that were meant to multiply you. Let me ask you this. How many mornings have you opened your eyes and already felt behind? Your phone's buzzing. The kids need something. Work deadlines are screaming. Your peace is already under attack before you've even brushed your teeth. What if I told you that the problem isn't the day? It's how you're starting the day. The hour that builds discipline, the hour that builds discipline is not about simply waking up at 5 a.m. It's about taking full authority over your own life. Most people are not failing because they lack talent or intelligence. They're failing because they've never learned how to command themselves. They can manage others. They can impress a boss. They can keep promises to everyone except the one person that matters most, themselves. Waking up 1 hour earlier is a declaration of war on laziness, procrastination, and passivity. It is not just a decision to get up earlier. It is a decision to rise above mediocrity. It's not about being a morning person. It's about being a purpose person. That hour becomes the gym for your willpower. The place where your mental muscles are trained to obey your vision rather than your emotions. Discipline is built in the small, silent hours of the morning when there's no audience to applaud, no social media to scroll, and no noise to distract you. It's just you and your next level. And in that hour, you either train your flesh or you feed your comfort. You either break through or blend in. Think about this. The average person wakes up just in time to panic. They snooze the alarm 3 times, rush through the shower, scroll aimlessly for dopamine hits, barely grab breakfast, and run out the door half prepared. By the time they start their workday, they are already playing catch up. But the disciplined individual, the one who wakes up 1 hour earlier, sets the pace for the day. Imagine 2 people. Both have the same job, same education, same dreams. But one of them rises an hour early, journaling, planning, exercising, meditating, reading, or building their side vision. A year from now, they won't even recognize each other. The gap won't be luck, it will be discipline. One chose self-mastery. The other chose the mattress. Discipline doesn't scream, it whispers. It whispers to you at 5 a.m. saying, "Get up, you said you wanted more." It doesn't come with hype or applause. It comes with results. Every day you wake up early, you are voting for your future. You are casting a ballot for your destiny. You are sending a message to your subconscious that you are serious about your next chapter. And it's not easy. That's the whole point. It's uncomfortable. It's cold. The bed feels good. But so does progress. So does peace. So does freedom. Your life will either be defined by the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And only one of those leads to elevation. In daily life, we discipline ourselves for everything that doesn't matter. We're disciplined about catching up on our favorite shows, about keeping up with trends, about scrolling for hours without blinking. But the minute it comes to doing something that transforms us, reading a book, working on our goals, praying, stretching our potential, we say we don't have time. The truth is, we do. It's just trapped in our excuses. And the key that unlocks that trapped time is the decision to wake up 1 hour earlier. The man or woman who masters the morning masters their life. They don't stumble into greatness by accident. They build it with intentional steps taken while the world is still asleep. While others are dreaming, they are doing. While others are stalling, they are starting. While others wait for the right mood, they move from mission. Your brain is sharpest in the morning. Your thoughts are clearest. The world is quietest. That is when seeds are planted. That's when your day is decided. If you want to be the kind of person who doesn't just survive, but dominates their life, then you must go where average people refuse to go. And that starts with the discipline of an early hour. It's not about never being tired. It's about showing up even when you are. It's about becoming so aligned with your vision that your feelings no longer hold you hostage. You will not always feel like it. But discipline says, do it anyway. And after a while, that discipline turns into confidence. That confidence turns into momentum. And that momentum turns into mastery. You are not behind in life. You are behind in habits. You don't need a new breakthrough. You need a new morning. 1 disciplined hour is more powerful than 10 reactive ones. 1 hour of focus repeated daily can rewrite your destiny. The world has sold us the lie that discipline is restrictive. But true discipline is the most powerful freedom you will ever experience. Because once you learn to control yourself, no one else can control you. Once you master your morning, no chaos can master your mind. This is not about a trend. This is not about some productivity hack. This is about becoming the kind of person who walks in the room and commands respect, not because of noise, but because of the quiet power they carry. And that power is built in the discipline of the hour nobody sees. The hour that removes excuses, the hour that removes excuses is not just a window of time on a clock. It is a mirror that forces you to face yourself. It reveals who you really are when no one's watching. Excuses are loud during the day when you're surrounded by distractions, obligations, and noise. But at 5 a.m., when the world is silent and your phone hasn't started ringing, there are no more shields left to hide behind. You can't blame the traffic. You can't blame your job. You can't blame your kids or your partner or the system. At 5 a.m., it's just you and the truth you've been avoiding. Excuses sound convincing when you're overwhelmed, but most people are not overwhelmed. They're just under-prioritized. They don't lack the time, they lack the will to take control of it. That's why waking up 1 hour earlier is so powerful, because in that hour, you either become honest with your future or you keep lying to yourself with comfort. The number one excuse people make is, I don't have time. But time is not something you find, it's something you create. And one of the most powerful ways to create time is to wake up before the world demands anything from you, before the deadlines, before the chaos, before the noise begins to fill your head with doubt. In that early hour, you're not reacting, you're creating. You're not managing problems, you're building solutions. And there are no excuses left to make. Take this real life example. Two people are both working full-time jobs. They both say they want to write a book. One person waits for inspiration and complains they never have time. The other wakes up an hour earlier every single day and writes just 1 page. In 1 year, one is still making excuses and the other is a published author. The difference wasn't talent. It wasn't even motivation. It was the decision to use an hour that most people throw away. Excuses are habits that get stronger every time we feed them. You say, just 5 more minutes to the alarm clock, and your subconscious hears, my dreams can wait. You say, I'll do it later, and your momentum slows. You say, it's not the right time, and your opportunity shrinks. But when you wake up 1 hour earlier, every fiber of your being is confronted with a choice, stay in comfort or rise into purpose. People blame everything but themselves. They say, I would start the business, but I don't know where to begin. I would get in shape, but I'm always too tired after work. I would spend more time with my thoughts, but my day gets away from me. The answer to every one of those excuses is the same. Wake up 1 hour earlier, not to check emails, not to scroll social media, but to move with intention, to plan, to pray, to write, to learn, to do the hard thing before the day even begins. And here's the powerful part. When you start your day with intention, excuses lose their power over you because you've already done the most difficult thing. You conquered yourself. You told your comfort zone, you don't own me anymore. That's not small. That's how giants are built in secret. Most people wait for life to become less busy before they make a change. But the truth is, life never becomes less demanding. The world isn't going to pause so you can catch your breath. You must create space. And the early morning gives it to you like a gift, quiet, undistracted, and full of clarity. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need 1 hour of no excuses. Think about it, that hour could be the difference between stuck and free, between talking about a dream and living it, between being reactive and being relentless. You don't change your life by shifting your whole world overnight. You change it by mastering 1 hour that sets the tone for all the others. People who live with excuses are always tired, always stressed, always waiting for a miracle. But people who master the morning don't wait for a miracle. They become one. They take back their authority by taking control of their time. They understand that growth begins where excuses end. You see, it's not about perfection, it's about permission. Giving yourself permission to change your rhythm, to own your space, to silence the lies that tell you're not ready. The earlier you wake up with purpose, the sooner you stop waiting for someone else to give you a green light. You become the green light. This is why high performers, great leaders, and impactful people all have one thing in common. They have owned their mornings. And it's not because they love waking up early. It's because they hate being stuck. They've learned that if you want to kill excuses, you must confront them when they're weakest, before the sun rises. Waking up early is not just about getting ahead. It's about getting honest. It's about facing the excuses that have been stealing your progress and declaring, not today, not anymore. When you make that decision daily, the world doesn't just change around you, it starts to respond to you. The hour of private victory is not seen by the world, but it shapes everything the world will eventually see. That 1 hour you claim before the noise of life begins is where the real battles are fought and won. It's not on the stage, it's not in the spotlight, and it's not in the applause of others. It's in the stillness of the morning, when your mind is sharp and your spirit is open, that true transformation takes place. That is the battleground of champions, quiet, invisible, but powerful. Every great life is built in secret long before it is celebrated in public. What people admire in others, the confidence, the clarity, the calm under pressure, those are not accidents. They are the results of private victories that nobody claps for. When you wake up 1 hour earlier than usual, you step into a sacred space that most people sleep through. In that hour, there are no distractions, no emails, no comparison, no noise. It's just you, your mind, and your mission. And what you do with that hour will decide how you show up in the rest of your day. Look around and you'll see people running all day but going nowhere. They are exhausted but unfulfilled, busy but broken, always reacting, never creating. That's because they've skipped the hour of private victory. They've handed their mornings over to chaos and wonder why their life feels out of control. You cannot expect a public breakthrough if you keep ignoring the private battle. Your future is not waiting for a perfect moment. It's waiting for you to win the war with yourself. You win that war when you wake up early and train your mind before the world trains it for you. When you read something that elevates you. When you write down your goals and speak life into your day. When you move your body and feed your soul. That hour becomes your fortress, your headquarters for spiritual, emotional, and mental command. It is where you remind yourself that you are not just a reactor of life, but a designer of it. Think about an Olympic athlete. People see them perform for a few minutes every 4 years, but what they don't see are the thousands of hours in silence, repetition, sweat, and solitude. That's where the real medals are won, in the private hours. It's the same with life. Your breakthrough is not going to come from one lucky moment. It's going to come from mastering your morning in silence when no one is clapping and no one is watching. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to announce it. You just need to own it. Wake up, sit with your purpose, study your plan, discipline your flesh, listen to your inner voice. That is the hour when average people hit snooze and great people hit reset. You reset your mind, your habits, your intention. That's not routine. That's revolutionary. You want confidence. Win privately first. You want peace. Protect your morning fiercely. You want clarity. Don't start your day scrolling. Start it with structure. Most people wake up and hand their minds to the world within 5 minutes. They check the news. They check notifications. They check into stress before they check in with themselves. But the one who practices the hour of private victory is unbothered. They are anchored before the waves come. I knew a man who once told me he changed his entire life by waking up 1 hour earlier every day. At first, he didn't know what to do with the time, but he decided to make a rule: no phone, no noise, just growth. He read 1 page a day. He journaled 3 thoughts. He did 10 minutes of exercise, and he sat in silence for 5. At first, it felt pointless, but 6 months later, his mind was sharper, his emotions more stable, his confidence had returned, and the most powerful thing was this: he was no longer waiting for the world to fix itself. He had built strength in secret. He had gained victory in private. And because of that, everything in his public life began to change. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't lead if you're lost. You can't inspire others if you haven't even found your own fire. And that fire is not found in noise. It's found in the hour of stillness. That's where your passion returns. That's where your goals become more than words. That's where you remember who you are without the labels, without the expectations, and without the pressure to perform. The hour of private victory is where you choose to live from intention, not reaction. It's the difference between a life you chase and a life you create. And if you want the world to feel your impact, it has to start in the hour where you impact yourself. Not once, but every single morning, until greatness becomes your baseline and not your wish. The hour that amplifies productivity, waking up 1 hour earlier, might seem like a small shift, but in reality, it's a secret weapon used by the most disciplined and successful people in the world. That single hour, when most of the world is still sleeping, becomes a sanctuary of focus, clarity, and creativity. It's the moment where distractions are minimized and possibilities are maximized. The hour doesn't just give you time, it multiplies what you can do with time. It amplifies productivity in ways that ripple through your entire day. Productivity is not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things with the right energy. And nothing gives you that kind of energy like an intentional morning. When you wake up early and command the first hour of your day, you take control before life even has a chance to take it from you. Most people start their day in chaos, rushing, reacting, scrambling. They're already behind before they even leave the house. But that one quiet hour gives you a head start not just on your day, but on your destiny. That hour is where clarity lives. When your mind is not yet overwhelmed by the weight of responsibilities, when your phone isn't vibrating, when no one is demanding your time, that's when you hear the ideas that can change your life. You think clear, you move with purpose. Your decision making is sharper. And instead of being consumed by urgent tasks, you get to focus on important ones. That's the difference between living reactively and living strategically. Have you ever noticed how your best ideas often come when you're alone in silence? Maybe while driving or walking or in the shower. That's because your brain needs space to breathe before it can create. The early morning gives you that space. In just 60 minutes, you can do what takes others half a day because you're working from a full cup, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's not just productivity, that's power. I once knew a young woman who struggled with staying focused. She worked long hours, always felt tired, and said she never had time to work on her personal goals. She tried productivity hacks, apps, and planners, but nothing stuck. One day, she made one change. She started waking up at 5:30 a.m. For the first week, she just sat in silence, journaled, and sipped tea. The second week, she added 20 minutes of reading. The third week, she mapped out her daily schedule before breakfast. Within 1 month, her energy changed. She wasn't running behind anymore. She wasn't overwhelmed. She said, "I don't do more now. I just do what matters first," and that changed everything. That's what amplifying productivity is all about. It's not about being busy. It's about being effective. You can knock out your top priorities before the world even knows you're awake. You can design your life instead of reacting to whatever comes your way. The problem isn't that people lack hours. It's that they lack focused, undistracted, high energy hours. That early morning hour is a goldmine of focus if you choose to mine it. Let me tell you something powerful. Your future is hidden in your daily routine. And when your day starts in chaos, the rest of it follows suit. But when your day starts in clarity, peace, and purpose, everything else aligns. You show up better, you think better, you lead better. That's how top CEOs, world-class athletes, visionary creatives, and powerful leaders stay ahead. They win the morning, they control their inputs. They don't let the day decide how they feel. They decide before the day even begins. The science backs it up too. Your brain is most alert in the first few hours after waking. That's when your decision making is sharpest. That's when your willpower is at its peak. And that's when your energy is fresh, unspent, and untangled from drama. So why would you waste that sacred mental energy checking your phone, replying to emails, or listening to noise that doesn't feed your purpose? That's like pouring premium fuel into someone else's car and wondering why you never reach your destination. Amplified productivity doesn't mean doing more tasks. It means setting the tone for the day before the world interrupts you. It means you create before you consume. You listen to your own voice before everyone else's opinions drown it out. You prioritize your vision before the day hands you its distractions. That's what the early hour gives you dominion over your direction. I remember meeting a man who told me he used to feel like life was just happening to him. Until he took back his mornings, he said, "I was living on defense, but now I wake up and plan my attack." He used the first hour to reflect, plan, move, and meditate. Within 6 months, he had started a side business, restored his energy, and even improved his relationships. Not because he got more hours, but because he multiplied what he could do with one. When you command the early hour, you're not just increasing what you do, you're increasing who you become. You stop reacting and start directing. You stop spinning in circles and start accelerating toward goals. You stop chasing balance and start creating alignment. That's amplified productivity, where small decisions create massive impact, where 1 hour in the morning becomes the fuel that powers your momentum all day long. The hour that restores power, is not an ordinary hour. It's a sacred appointment between you and your highest potential. It's not just a block of time, it's a reset for your soul, a reconnection to your core, and a rebuilding of what life may have drained from you. This hour isn't about checking off boxes or rushing into a to-do list. It's about restoration. It's about pulling back all the energy that the world tried to scatter and claiming it again with authority. Because when your power is restored, your perspective changes, your confidence returns, and your resilience becomes unshakable. Life will drain you without permission. It will demand from you your time, your attention, your strength, until you are left with fragments of yourself. You give to your job, you give to your family, you give to people who don't even know your worth. But when do you give back to you? When do you plug back into the source that renews your strength? That's what this hour does. It's not a luxury. It's survival. It's self-preservation. It's power restoration. There's a woman I once spoke to who said, "I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm always given. I'm always needed. But I feel like I've lost myself." I asked her, "When was the last time you were alone with your own thoughts?" She said, "I don't remember." That's the problem with many of us. We've become so busy living for others that we forgot to restore ourselves. And let me tell you, when you neglect yourself long enough, you begin to break in places you didn't even know were cracking. Your smile becomes performance. Your energy becomes artificial. You show up, but you're not present. That's why this 1 hour matters. Not because the world demands it, but because your soul needs it. The early hour before the world wakes up is when you can truly breathe. It's when you sit still enough to feel your own heartbeat. It's when you hear your own thoughts without interruption. That stillness is medicine. That silence is where strength returns. Not borrowed strength, not fake motivation, but real restored power. The kind that comes from within. You know what's powerful? Waking up early not to rush, but to recharge. Lighting a candle, making a cup of tea, writing down your intentions. Sitting in gratitude. Stretching your body. Speaking life into your own reflection before the world has a chance to speak doubt into you. That's how you take back your power. That's how you remind yourself, I matter too. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes power is in the whisper that says, today I will not break. Sometimes power is in the breath you take before you respond. Sometimes it's in the prayer you whisper before the chaos begins. That 1 hour becomes a personal sanctuary, a place where your spirit exhales, a place where your strength is not just restored, but recalibrated to face the storms you know are coming. I knew a man who had lost his business, his marriage, and nearly lost his mind. He told me, I was carrying everyone else's weight and forgot to carry myself. Then he started waking up at 4:45 a.m., not to hustle, but to heal. He spent the first hour journaling, walking, breathing, thinking again. He wasn't chasing success anymore. He was restoring his soul. He said that hour taught him how to face the day with peace, not panic. That hour didn't just restore his power, it restored his identity. You can't give powerfully if you don't live powerfully. And living powerfully starts with being filled. That 1 hour is not wasted time, it's invested time. You invested in becoming whole again. The world doesn't need more burned out warriors. It needs people who are deeply rooted. People who have sat quietly in the morning with their own soul and walked out of that hour with peace that passes understanding. When you make time to restore your power, you begin to move differently. Your decisions are cleaner. Your reactions are calmer. Your posture is stronger. You're no longer begging the day to be kind to you. You command it because you've already claimed victory before the sun came up. This is not superstition, this is strategy. Warriors don't go to battle exhausted, they prepare. Champions don't compete empty, they refuel. And you too must restore before you pour. I once asked a group of leaders, when do you refill what life is constantly draining? Many said, I don't know. But the ones who thrived, the ones who led with clarity and peace, they all had one thing in common. They owned a private hour of restoration every morning. That's where their power was rebuilt daily, not occasionally. Daily, because life is a daily drain, and your restoration must match it. You can't fix a broken world with a broken soul. You can't bring light to others if your own flame is flickering. So you rise early not to run, but to rest. not to rush, but to refocus. You rise to receive back the strength, wisdom, and alignment you will need to handle the day ahead. Because it's not what happens in the chaos of noon that determines your peace. It's what happened in the silence of 5 a.m. This hour becomes a place where your scattered pieces come back together. A place where your vision becomes clear again. A place where the voices of doubt are silenced and the voice of purpose becomes loud. You come out of that hour not just refreshed, but rebuilt. And when you face the world from a place of restoration, the world can't shake what it didn't build. You're anchored, you're focused, you're unstoppable. The hour that reconnects you with purpose, is not just a time on the clock. It is a spiritual recalibration. It is the hour where you don't just wake up, you rise up. In this one golden hour before the world begins to make demands on your energy, your time, and your mind, you reconnect with the one thing many people have forgotten in their chase for success: why they are alive in the first place. Purpose is not a mystery. It's not a treasure hidden in the jungle. It's a whisper inside of you. And the problem is most people are too loud on the outside to hear that whisper on the inside. But this 1 hour, this quiet, sacred, intentional hour, it silences the noise and lets you hear that inner voice again. Do you know why so many people feel lost? It's not because they don't have goals. It's not because they lack ambition. It's because they're running fast in the wrong direction. They're climbing the ladder, but it's leaning against the wrong wall. Purpose is what tells you which ladder to climb and where to lean it. It tells you why you must get up. It reminds you that you were not born just to pay bills, survive heartbreak, tolerate mediocrity, and die. You were born for a reason, and that reason must be recalibrated daily, or you will forget. That's why this early hour is more than a productivity hack. It is a sacred meeting with destiny. I remember speaking to a young man who worked a corporate job, made good money, and had all the boxes checked. Yet he said to me, "Every morning I wake up with a weight in my chest, like I'm doing everything right, but none of it feels right." I asked him, "What are you doing in your first hour each day?" He said, "Checking emails, reading news, getting ready for work." I said, "That's your problem. You're preparing for the world before you've reconnected with your why. You're fueling up the body, but your spirit is still running on empty." He started waking up 1 hour earlier. No screen, no noise. Just a notebook, a quiet room, and a question: what am I really here for? In 3 weeks, his energy changed. His direction sharpened. He realized that he wasn't supposed to climb the corporate ladder. He was supposed to build his own. He started a nonprofit that now feeds over 300 families a week. Not because he got more time, but because he got back in touch with his purpose. That's the power of 1 hour. Purpose doesn't scream. It speaks in quiet conviction. And when you silence the chaos of the world long enough, that conviction grows louder. That's what the early hour gives you. Not answers. Alignment. You realign your time with your truth. You match your calendar with your calling. You stop chasing everything and begin following something. Because a life without purpose is busy, but unfulfilled. It's active, but empty. And that early hour, that time before the world's opinions start shouting at you, it reconnects you to the path you were actually born to walk. You ever notice how powerful people move with calm? It's not that their life is easier. It's that their life is aligned. They know what they're doing and why they're doing it. That clarity didn't come from scrolling through social media. That clarity came from solitude, from intentional reflection, from sitting still with the question: is this how I'm supposed to be living? The early hour is when you confront that question before the day distracts you from it. And if the answer is no, if you've been living off course, that hour is your time to redirect before you waste another day going the wrong way. I met a woman who was stuck in a job that drained her. She said every day felt like she was dying slowly. But when she gave herself 1 hour in the morning, she began writing again. Something she hadn't done since college. That hour wasn't just quiet time. It was purpose time. It reminded her of the passion that had been buried under bills, responsibilities, and expectations. Within a year, she self-published a book. Not because life got easier, but because her direction got clearer. That clarity came from the early hour, the hour where purpose whispers, and you finally have the silence to listen. The world doesn't need more successful people. It needs more purposeful people. People who live from the inside out, not the outside in. People who make decisions not from desperation, but from destiny. That's what this hour offers you. It offers you the space to ask, what kind of life do I want to build? And when you reconnect with your purpose, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop existing and start living. Imagine a builder showing up to a construction site with no blueprint. That's how many people live their lives, working hard but with no plan, no clarity, no purpose. That early hour is where you reopen the blueprint. You look again at the vision. You remind yourself of the mission. You reconnect to what truly matters, because when you know your purpose, every no becomes easier. Every yes becomes intentional, and every obstacle becomes bearable. Why? Because now you're not just waking up for a paycheck, you're waking up for meaning. And that changes everything. The hour that separates average from extraordinary, the hour that separates average from extraordinary is the 1 hour the average person keeps hitting snooze on. While the world is still asleep, champions are building. It's the silent hour where giants are made, not in noise, not in applause, but in silent sweat and sacred discipline. The difference between the one who complains and the one who conquers is what they do with the time no one is watching. This hour doesn't scream, it sharpens. It doesn't look like victory, but it becomes the womb where victory is formed. If you can master this 1 hour, the rest of your day becomes your servant, not your master. Every day, millions of people wake up with just enough time to get dressed, grab a bite, rush through traffic, and show up to life unprepared. They roll into the day reactive, letting the day dictate their emotions, their energy, their mindset. But the extraordinary don't wake up with the world. They wake up before it. Because they understand that if you want to lead the orchestra, you can't enter the room at the sound of the music. You have to be there before the instruments are even tuned. That's what that early hour is. It's the time where you tune your instrument, where you prepare your soul, where you get ahead before the world gets moving. I once sat with a man who built a multi-million-dollar business from scratch. I asked him, "What's your secret?" He didn't say marketing, money, or mentorship. He said, "I wake up at 4:30 every morning. That 1 hour before the world gets noisy, that's my battlefield. That's where I plan, think, reflect, create, and execute before the sun even says good morning." That hour didn't give him extra time. It gave him extra clarity. It's not about more hours in the day. It's about more power in your hours. It's not about being busy. It's about being built from within. And the extraordinary are built when the world is silent. Imagine an athlete who wants to go to the Olympics, but wakes up at 8 a.m. while others are already on the track. Imagine a student who wants to top the class, but only opens the book after everyone else. Excellence is not found in the crowd. It's carved in the lonely hour when you decide to be uncommon. The early hour separates the dreamers from the doors, because anyone can desire more, but few will discipline themselves enough to do what more requires. This hour is where that discipline is forged. It's the training ground for warriors. It's not easy, but that's exactly why it works. That's why it transforms. I remember a woman who told me she was overwhelmed. She had kids, a full-time job, and dreams she buried under responsibility. I said, "Wake up 1 hour earlier. That hour is your weapon." She resisted at first, but "I'm exhausted already." I told her, "You're not exhausted from doing too much. You're exhausted from not doing what fuels you." So she gave it a shot. That 1 hour became her time to journal, to write her goals, to exercise, to breathe. Within a month, her energy changed. Within 6 months, she launched her own side business. Within a year, she left the job that drained her. Not because life got easier, but because she chose to become extraordinary in the hour where average people were still asleep. Do you know what's amazing? You don't need to change your whole life to change your trajectory. You just need to win that 1 hour. The first hour. That's the hour that trains your mind before the world tries to manipulate it. It's the hour where you command your thoughts before they spiral. It's the hour where you decide who you are, what you want, and how you'll show up. It's the secret weapon no one talks about because most people don't want to hear it. They want shortcuts. But extraordinary people don't take shortcuts. They build strong foundations, brick by brick, while the rest are still sleeping. The hour before sunrise is not just a time. It's a test. It asks you, are you willing to be uncommon? It asks, will you discipline yourself when no one is watching, clapping, or posting about it? Because the reward doesn't come in the moment. The reward comes in the momentum. That 1 hour adds up. 1 hour a day is 7 hours a week. That's 30 hours a month. That's 365 hours a year. That's over 2 weeks of pure personal mastery gained simply by waking up before others hit the snooze button. You want a different life. Start living different now. While they sleep, you study. While they scroll, you build. While they dream, you execute. When the world sees the results, they'll call it talent, luck, or favor. But you'll know it was discipline in disguise. You'll know you didn't rise by accident, you rose early. You made a covenant with yourself that average was never going to be enough. You said, if I must sacrifice sleep to build my future, then I will. Because 1 hour of focus, alignment, and action is worth more than a full day of scattered movement. Extraordinary is not found in the spotlight, it's found in the shadows, in the silent hour, in the place where only the hungry go. And when the day begins and the noise rushes in, you're already ahead. You're not catching up, you're setting the pace. You're not reactive, you're proactive. You're not hoping to make it, you're making it happen. And it all began with one simple, powerful, uncommon decision to rise before the rest. That's the hour that separates the ordinary from the unstoppable. That's the hour where destiny is designed, not by chance, but by choice. So here you are, standing at the edge of the same decision every great man and woman once faced. The same question echoes through history and into your soul right now. What will you do with the time no one is watching? Because it's in that moment, before the sun rises, before the world gets loud, that destiny knocks. Not with fireworks or fame, but with silence. And only those who have the courage to answer in the silence are the ones history remembers. Every morning, you get a chance to either make excuses or make progress. You cannot do both. Life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you wake up for. People keep praying for a breakthrough. But breakthroughs don't just appear. They are built in the dark. Champions don't rise when the crowd cheers. They rise because they practiced in the quiet while the world slept. The grind is never loud, but its results will echo for a lifetime. You must understand this. The fight is not in the day. The fight is in the preparation for the day. If you win the first hour, you command the next 23. The world won't always reward the talented, but it will always submit to the disciplined. Because success is never owned. It is leased, and the rent is due every single morning. The earlier you rise to pay it, the higher you climb. Some of you listening to this, you've been asking life for more. You've been crying out for clarity, direction, power, purpose. And the answer has been waiting for you in that early hour. Not in noise, not in distraction, but in stillness. It's been whispering, meet me before the world gets to you. Meet me before the doubts start talking. Meet me before the pressure starts pulling you down. Because you cannot control the storm that comes at 2 p.m. If you never prepared at 5 a.m., discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. And most people lose that battle before they even get out of bed. Don't let the comfort of the blanket bury your calling. Don't let 5 more minutes rob you of 5 more miracles. You were not born to blend in. You were not born to be common. You were born to break patterns, destroy limits, rewrite stories. And that begins with the decision to rise. Not when you feel like it, but because your purpose demands it. The world honors those who dare to show up for themselves before they're expected to show up for others. You can't lead a company, a family, or even your own dreams if you're chasing the day instead of commanding it. When you rise early, you no longer live life on defense. You become the offense. You attack the day. You move before doubt has time to settle. You create before comparison creeps in. You prepare before problems pull you back. And I'll tell you something that may sting a little. You don't need motivation. You need a decision. Because motivation fades, but a decision transforms. Motivation says, maybe tomorrow. Decision says, I start now. Motivation whispers comfort. Decision shouts commitment. Every great leader, every world changer, every giant you admire made the same decision to give the world their best by showing up early, staying focused, and outworking every excuse. So I dare you. No, I challenge you. Wake up 1 hour earlier and win. Not just the morning, not just the day, but your mindset, your focus, your future. That 1 hour is the hour the world gave up on. But you're not the world. You are a rare breed. You are the architect of your destiny. You are the fire that refuses to die. You are the warrior that sharpens his sword in silence so he can walk into the battlefield already victorious. Remember these words every morning. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Success doesn't come to you. You go to it. Don't wait for opportunity. create it. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. These are not just quotes. They are roadmaps. Engrave them on your heart. Etch them into your mornings. Live them with your first breath each day. And when they ask you, how did you win? Look them in the eyes and say, I just woke up before they did.